Last week, we had Christy Barber on the podcast to talk about how a good business partnership is much like a good marriage. This week, we're talking with a business partnership that is a marriage, as Gail sits down with Karen Wolf and Matt Brown of K+CO Living. Listen to the full episode to learn how this couple separates their work and personal life to find success in both.
Welcome, Matt and Karen. I'm so excited to talk to you about your business and what's been happening, the changes that have happened with you coming on board, Matt. And we're going to start off first, Karen, with why don't you talk about K+CO Living and talk about where you are, what type of work you do, and a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So, Gail, it's so nice being here. Thank you for having us. I've known you now for maybe almost 10 years. I feel
probably
like 10 years.
Probably.
It's been a long run. So you've seen my business go through, its growing pains. K+CO Living is based in Short Hills, New Jersey. We are a residential design firm, and it used to be KBW or Karen B. Wolf Interiors. I took my name out of the company as a rebrand about 2 years ago, and we focus on mostly residential, coastal, second home projects, and also what I call transitional suburban projects, but we call it city to coast here. So our suburban is really like city. It's hip, it's a little more trend forward.
Great. Well, that fits you and the way you like to do business. So how did you become a designer?
Oh boy. So I became a designer really by process of elimination. I was always very creative. And I went to school I went to undergrad as a fine artist, and then also received a marketing master's, and ended up in a position that was called trends forecasting for a home catalog. And I started my career by looking for opportunity in the marketplace based on how consumers were behaving and what the why was behind their home purchases. So I was putting together trend presentations and really understanding merchandising, marketing, and consumer buying habits. And then I ended up leaving that company. It was in Chicago. They were going under. And I moved on into another portion of my career, but always really favored that beginning entree that I had into the real world and felt that it was my place and it was my space. So as time went on, I had children. I did the typical pivot, said, what can I do next? And I really went back and evaluated what, inspired me. And I really loved the newness out of analyzing trends and understanding what's coming up, what's next, and combine that with my art background, said, you know what, maybe I'll give interior design a try. So I went back to school. I went to Parsons at night and did a year-long program. I already had a master's, so I felt like it was enough. And then I did small accreditations for credibility, like home staging. I did a color certification, and I basically did anything I could. I joined ASID as a professional member, just so that I could get out there as with the right credentials, and then started picking up clients. And it was during the recession. So I walked into this at a slow time, which probably was good because, I wasn't out there grabbing clients by the millions, but the ones that I did have, I was very grateful for. And it gave me time to really learn the industry.
Mm. Well, it's been interesting watching you. And of course, I know one of the things that you had on your plate was, should I be doing this, or that imposter syndrome? I think there was a little bit of that way back.
Yeah. Yes. That's actually what you asked me. One of your questions was, or will be, I'm going to jump because I know what your question is. But what are some of the biggest challenges? And I actually wrote down imposter syndrome was one of my early challenges that I felt like, I had such a strong marketing background that this was a lot of smoke and mirrors, and I wasn't formally educated. And how do you go ahead and succeed in this industry when, you're not walking out of design school? So I overwork, and I still compensate for that to this day. That's one of the ways that I think I've defeated that challenge, but also over time, just, gaining the confidence and the in the field knowledge really is what's given me the ability to finally get over that hurdle. But I have a lot of other little hurdles, but I just wanted to jump to that.
Well, you might as well. Well, and I appreciate you being honest about it because almost everybody has imposter syndrome. I actually think if I asked every person, they told me the truth, they would say yes, they had it. So the reality is, you do some really wonderful work,
Thank
and you are. I hope you don't mind me saying you're in the multi-millions in your business. So you have built your business to be quite successful. And I think one of the hallmarks of your business has been your business skills. You actually have really good savvy around business. And so I think that has served you well over the years. But what do you think some of the other things are that have happened over the years, or maybe how your business has evolved? I've watched this. I'd love for you to share that.
hmm So, first of all, in coaching with you, I think you really got me over, helped me to jump the hurdle over some of the things that were holding me back that were fear-based. So one of them was hiring. I was absolutely petrified of growth and of hiring additional employees. I'm very conservative in the way that I do take risks. And they're generally done in baby steps, even though it's risky to start your own business and be an entrepreneur. But once I got over that, then every single other decision after that, I feel like has been a little bit more analyzed, let's just say, strategically analyzed. And hiring that first employee was one of the hardest things for me to do. Then once I did that, then it was like, okay, now I can do this. And then I went to 2. And then once I think I hit 3 or 4, then it was like, I'm running a real business. And that became not even a consideration for me. It was more or less, it became a real financial, like, look at your P&L. Can you afford it? Can you not? But up until that point in time, it was much more of an emotional decision. Moving out of my house and moving into even my garage next to my house, for whatever reason, consumed me, was like the biggest deal for months on end. I just couldn't get out of my own space and out of my own way. Once I did that, then we grew out of that space, and then I moved to an actual brick and mortar location. And those moves were really, really challenging for me. So I think, that was one of the biggest hurdles. And then also learning how to say no. So I don't know if you remember, Gail, the first 5 or 6 years, I literally was grabbing at straws at every project that came in. And there are still times where I go very backwards in who I choose to bring on board. And it's not because I don't like them, but they're just not the right fit, let's just say. And we've set goals and parameters for, what should be your ideal client. And then out of fear, you take on the next job that really isn't the right job. So I still have bits and pieces of that emerge at times, which is why I do coaching, so that I can, remember to basically stop and think before I make some really poor decisions. But saying no has been a really, really important aspect of growing the business, because I really have at least stuck to, even if it's like the lower threshold of what my average project is, I am not taking things below a certain point. And the longer you're in this, the more you feel that you're entitled to making some of these decisions. So I think I got over that. I feel like I'm a veteran in the industry right now. So, I've been around for 15 years doing this, which is a long time. And I can honestly say at this point, no, that's not the right fit. No, I'm not going backwards. No, I will not go in the field and do this. No, somebody else in my office, please handle this. So there's a lot of, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, not barriers, but I've put up a lot of, blocks basically to enable me to stay focused.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And with that, go ahead.
Yeah, your boundaries.
Yeah, my boundaries. Thank you. I couldn't get the word out.
That's all right.
So those were some of the obstacles. I'd say it was, establishing your self-worth, basically asking for what you're worth, getting paid for what you're worth, saying no. I'm still probably not getting paid in full for what I'm worth, but I think that's an inherent problem in the design industry as a whole, not just me.
I would agree with that. And I think a lot of that is because so many people attach emotions to their business. And so the emotions get in the way of making the logical decisions that you would make were you to separate the two, if that makes sense.
Yes. And I said that it's still a challenge to separate church and state.
Sure.
That, I get so upset sometimes if a client is annoyed about something and it's so easily solvable, and I'll get really passively aggressively upset. And actually Matt, who has come on board as he's my spouse, but he's also come on board in the operational back end side. He is my balance to that type of personality trait. He's the logic or the rational voice behind me saying like, okay, let's just calm down, take a deep breath. Let's look at this and analyze, why they're so happy. And at the end of the day, unhappy, or what they're unhappy about, we have to service them. And that's our first and foremost criterion.
That is great. And Matt, welcome to the call too.
Hi, Gail. How are you?
And thank you for being a part of her business. I think you are such a great asset to the business. And I have to say, it was so much fun. We did another VIP. Gosh, that was September. It was right before our boardroom retreat. And I remember looking at you at one point and saying, Matt, you're hired. Do you remember that?
I felt very welcome there. It was great. Thank you.
That was so much fun.
Yeah. So you want to know the secret to success here of a husband and wife team? You just experienced it. That was a podcast in and of itself, just there. 15 minutes of you and Karen. And no. And the secret is know when to talk and when not to. This is Karen's intro. This is all her. This is her business. I knew, let her speak. And when it comes to me, I'll be ready to go. So here we are.
Oh, I love it. Thank you so much for being a part of this. And thank you. Really, I just love seeing you as part of the team because I think you bring such an interesting balance and blend of personality with Karen. And I think it is going to be that extra secret sauce that will take your business to another level.
I hope so.
Yes.
I mean, on that note, I think that there's such a comfort level with the clients with Matt, like his client facing and his customer service abilities are way better than mine, much more skilled at that. I have the front end fun personality to, possibly bring somebody in and then I move on.
Oh, the fun is yet to come. We haven't gotten that far yet. We're still only 5 months into this project.
Oh, wow. I can't believe it's been 5 months already.
Yeah.
To me, that's too quick. It seems very quick.
Oh, that's so funny. Well, let me ask you this question, though. When you got married, did you ever think you would work together?
Actually, yeah, we did. When we first,
Yep.
I want to say this is going to be revisionist history, but it was probably after we had gotten married. We were in Chicago. We then moved to New York. I was already working for my first big company in craft foods. Karen was working in the ad agency world and then started to work for an entertainment company in direct marketing. And we had thought we had an idea to go into the franchise business. There was a company called Great Harvest Bread Company, very successful company out in the Midwest. When we were in college, we used to love going to the Great Harvest. And we loved the model and we wanted to open up one in New Jersey. So we found a place that would have been suitable for it. We contacted the company. We filled out the paperwork. We went so far as to almost go to Montana for the training session. We were moments away from jumping into this, but we realized that from a financial standpoint, we didn't think that it offered enough for us to really go into this as a dual income opportunity. This is a company that's focused on retail bread sales, and we really wanted to see if we could open up a wholesale business with it. And the model didn't really let us do much more than about 10%. So we gave up on the idea. And look, it only took 25 years for us to get back together, and here we are. So,
well, I think it's probably just the right timing. Sometimes the timing is better later. So. Yeah. Interesting that you did think about it earlier. So how did you come to the idea that you would come on board? And was it Karen's idea or your idea? Where did it start from?
I think it was it was all about timing, Gail, and it was a perfect storm, perfect timing. I had been in my business, which I had started. Well, I was in the food business for however many years that was, almost 30 years, but the last 20 plus was in a manufacturing business that I had bought with a business partner. And the last 12 had been growing a nationally recognized food brand, Mama Mancini's. And, it was a brand built on a family story. And it really kind of was as big a part of being successful as the product quality itself. The story helped launch that business. And with that, there's kind of like, I guess Karen likes to call it a signature style in her business. I call it a brand essence. And we had built a brand essence around this product, and we took the company public. And when we did that, we took on a lot more outside people with a lot more opinions. With that, the writing was on the wall that perhaps there was an opportunity to exit and find that strategy. So I started working on that strategy. I brought a team in to replace me. And, we all agreed when we would time it. And at the same time that was happening, something else was going on in my life. My brother, personal reasons, is going through cancer. And while he's battling it right now, it's a challenge for him. And it hits hard with everybody else in the family. And I think that there was something you had on one of your, I want to say it was the client, not the client, your employee evaluations, year-end evaluations. You had something very similar in your packet that I did in my company, which was, I call them value cards, and I think you called them core values. And you went through a list of different words that your employees had to choose from to explain how it described them and what it truly meant to them. And I had that with my cards, and I kept coming up with the same 5. And in that top 5, family was a big one. And so again, it was a perfect storm of the right time to exit. And I really wanted to spend more family time, whether it's with my brother, whether it's with Karen, whether it's just being able to spend more time with my kids, who are now grown. They're 23, almost 23. And for the better part of 20 plus years of their life, I had my business. Karen was extremely busy growing her business. And I felt, what? I'd like to spend more time together as a family. So that was my exit. And Karen chose that opportunity to say, look, I could use help in my business. It's not getting any smaller, and I could use the help. And I know that, the strength I bring is operations. I can't help decorate a room any better now, 5 months in, than I could when I first started. And don't ask me to, because I can't tell you the difference between one blue and another. But I do know operations, and I understand it, and I know what makes things work a little bit better. And if I get into the nitty-gritty of it, which I don't mind, it's what I enjoy, I find ways to improve things. So I knew that would help Karen in freeing up her time. And she grabbed me off the free agency market and said, you're in. So it was pretty easy.
So when Matt basically said, I'm leaving my company, he was trying to figure out, what am I going to do next? And one of the main reasons he came on board also is that I felt that we're both too young to be retired. And, that you really, I love staying vital and my mind being busy. That is a core value that I hold. And while Matt wants other things, family, et cetera, he still agreed that maybe it was a little too early.
Oh, absolutely.
For throwing the towel in and playing golf all day.
No. You can't rest at this age. You have to.
Yeah.
You have to keep challenging yourself. And this is, look, it is a challenge. That's what I love about this. It's I'm not here just punching a clock and sitting back in a chair and enjoying, everything outside the window. I've got a lot to do here, and I've got a lot to learn, and that's what I'm doing. So,
yeah, you have a lot to contribute. And I think that's one of the nice things. I've had several conversations today. This is my 4th podcast today. And interestingly, I've had several people that have partnerships. In fact, all of you today, and either it's a marriage partnership or it's a female partnership. But it has been so interesting listening. And it's the same kind of situation that most of you really maybe didn't intentionally set out to do that, to bring on that partner. But it just makes so much sense, because then it allows you to do what you are so gifted at doing, what your genius is. And the fact that Matt can bring that operationally is just wonderful to the business.
Yeah. And when he came on board, that position really was not solidified. We've had a lot of trouble filling that that position and that space. It's very complex. We are heavy transactional based design business. So instead of focusing on maybe 5 to 8 larger scale jobs, we focus on 39 smaller jobs and some large, 3 to 4 large, maybe 20 medium, and then the rest small, which contributes to a ton of transactions. Mm-hmm. And that makes the operations position very, very difficult. So we've had a lot of turnover, a lot of burnout in that role. And just really, it's not somebody's personal business, but it's Matt's. He's part owner now, and he will take it home with him with an ownership mentality.
It makes such a difference. It really does.
Huge.
So what are some of the considerations that you have to make as a couple before making this kind of a life and business partner situation?
You may start.
Okay.
Sure.
Well, considerations, I think maybe it's not a consideration, but why it works maybe is because our personalities and our skill sets are so uniquely different. What Matt is doing, I have zero interest in doing. You couldn't pay me to do what he's doing. And what I'm doing, Matt doesn't, may have interest, but he doesn't feel that he has the dire need to do it or the talent, let's just say. But you're very creative, so it's not that. He's just not trained in it. So I'd say coming at it with 2 very distinct roles, with 2 unique personalities that react very differently, but we share the same common values. We're both huge advocates of our culture in the office, being kind to our culture, nurturing our culture, seeing the young generation improve, grow, and succeed. So that means a lot to both of us, especially, in our midlife, that we want to see the young generation come up. What else do you think?
Well, I think that's a big part of it. And in fact, you stole some of my thunder. I think that when I came into this position, first of all, I don't even know if we've discussed it. Technically, I think Karen has me listed as a chief operating officer. Somebody asked me once, what does that mean? What is a chief? What is the job of a chief operating officer? And quite honestly, it's really what I was for the better part of the 20 years that I was in my other business. I had a business partner, and when you go into business with somebody, someone has to be the executive officer and somebody is the operations officer. And I was happy to let my business partner be the executive officer, and I took on the role of the operations officer. And so when asked that question, I thought long and hard, what is my role? What is the COO's role, whether Karen wants to hear me say it or not, is really to support the CEO in their vision. And that's still the way I feel from then and still the way I feel now. This is Karen's business, her name on the door, even though she's changed it to K+CO. She's still the K in K+CO, and she is the CEO of this operation. So as CEO. So as chief operating officer, my job is to make sure that she continues to succeed in the vision that she has for this company. And I will do whatever it is that I need to do. So she mentioned, sure, we are vested in this team that we have. And I love this team. Obviously, I've only known this
really
team for 5 months, and I'm sure you and Karen could have a whole nother podcast about how this team came about and her histories with employees, and how the struggles are with certain employees. And I still have to say it because Nashville was great. My favorite line coming out of there was, "It's rather to have a hole than you know what." And
exactly.
So we took care of some cleanup here on aisle 7, and it's been a lot of fun with this team. I think that they are energetic, and I am there to support not just Karen and the vision, but to give them the tools they need to succeed as well. So if I'm working on the back end spreadsheets to keep them on top of their clients, helping with the client facings, making sure that if clients have questions about deliveries, don't worry, talk to me. The designers know what they need to do. If you have logistical issues, talk to me, because the designers don't need to be bothered with that. It's not what their strength and what their vision is. So let them do what they do best. So that's why I'm here. It's to help everybody do better. I've had my run the first time through. This second time through, I'm here to make sure that others, have that same success.
So obviously I'm really fortunate that I have this partner that's his mentality. And not everyone is going to be walking into a partnership with that same set of,
That's true.
unique. This is a unique situation. But that said, even with, saying it doesn't mean that it actually gets executed. And the reality is that the reason it does work is because he is he has a compatible, pleasing type of personality, which you do need in a backup or a support type of position. So personalities really make a difference. And I think, we've decided to try to treat this like this is a family. And if your kids come to you and they say that, daddy said this and mommy said that, well, you need to have a united front. Now we could maybe disagree with the way it's been handled or whatever it might be, but publicly we try to have a united front, then we might go home and fight it out. And then I think
a better way of saying that, and I know what she meant to say, is that, when you're in a business setting, you need to be on the same page. And again, Karen as the CEO has a vision. If she has certain points that she brings up throughout the day, even if I may have a different idea or a different thought as to the way she's saying certain things, I will continue to work with her in the business setting, and then we can take home any of the questions we may have had, so that when we come back again, it's clear to the staff that we are in lockstep. You really don't want to have disagreements constantly, because it just creates an environment that's toxic,
and
you don't want to have that. It doesn't bode well for a husband and wife team like that.
And I think obviously a partnership works when you have a defined role, which
Absolutely.
we clearly do. And then the other thing I was thinking about is drawing a line between how much personal life you bring into the office. That's difficult. It's a small office. Everybody here is friendly. We're all sharing anecdotes from our life. And sometimes, I'll text Matt and be like, TMI, like too much information, dial it back. We have to be really careful on how much we're really sharing, even though we both are so open and transparent as people. And it's hard for us to hold back. But, there are times where I just feel like it's like kind of like, let's keep a little of it to ourselves. So drawing the line.
This is one of those perfect moments where we may have some disagreement. But here in this podcast, I'll say she's absolutely right. It is something we need to do and stay on top of. But I am certainly more of an open book. I think that, being able to be open with your employees, and even if it's sharing personal experiences, if it helps grow you as a team, I'm all for it. And I have no secrets that I wish to hide from anybody. But I understand.
I just don't want to make people uncomfortable.
I understand Karen's point. And it's a very valid point that in an age we live in today, you do have to be sensitive. You have to make sure that, you're not making other people uncomfortable in the way you're talking or topics that you might bring up. But understand that for me, and Karen knows me, for me, anything we talk about in this office is purely out of just love and just fun. And that's where we're coming from.
I love that. I love that you bring that humor and that. I think just that.
I try to.
Yeah. So you bring both of those things. And I just remember you came to the very first retreat in Nashville last year, and everybody instantly loved you because you just are such a, gregarious and friendly guy. So, and you have a lot to offer too. So thank you for that. So Matt and Karen, I'm going to ask you, what adjustments did you have to make to come into the business?
Well, honestly, from a time perspective, it's interesting because for the last 20 years, we saw very little of each other because my day started at 5 or even sometimes at 4:30 in the morning. And Karen would be sound asleep on my way out the door. And when I got home, I'd be dead tired and I'd be looking for the bed. And she'd be up all night working on a Canva or something for a client. And, she'd get into bed probably sometimes after midnight or 1 or 2 in the morning. And that was just the way we worked. And here we are now in the same business. I'm still getting to the office well before Karen is getting to the office. And that's just my nature. I like to be up early. And the beauty of it is Karen will be working at night and she'll rattle off emails.
So we didn't have to make an accommodation.
So we didn't have to accommodate because I come in the morning, I'm able to answer all the emails before she shows up. So from that perspective, not a lot of adjustments at all. But but there are adjustments. Sure, go ahead.
Well, one of the big adjustments, like I mentioned earlier, was we didn't have a proper handle on this job, and we didn't have the right person in the role. So we actually had to let somebody go, and then Matt took over the role in full force. Now, he probably is more in the weeds than is necessary. But it was also a way to learn and grasp the business. And eventually he can train somebody now to do that job. So we can grow. So we can finally have the infrastructure, maybe to have somebody under him, that's trained properly, because somebody else understands exactly what's needed on the back end, which has really been very difficult area. I know a lot of designers outsource it. And if somebody is fortunate enough to have somebody in-house that is working for them, I give them a lot of credit because it's been years.
But again, Karen didn't realize that when she realized the need to fill this spot, and the person who was working it was not, getting the job done, that she was putting or requesting me to go into a position that was really a comfort zone for me, more so than I thought it would be, because it really is no different. I spent 20 years in the food business, but making sure that operationally we got things done, and eventually our product got to the end user in the best format it could be, and that consumers or our end users appreciated what they were buying from us. I'm there again. We have furniture instead of food. What's the difference? It's quality manufacturing. I'm dealing with vendors. I'm dealing with logistics. I'm dealing with warehouses, and all of that seems to be in the same position that I was in before. So I gravitated to it as best I could, and I'm hopeful that I can now bring that ease to the next person and start to grow more in the business.
And I'd say an accommodation was learning the language. The language is different. The skill set's the same. So learning the language was a struggle at first, but he got it very quickly. Yeah. That was a good thing.
So Matt, my only bone to pick with you is I've never got any meatballs before you left.
Well, I apologize. I think.
Yeah, neither did I. Seriously, he never brought them home.
That's so
you
funny.
love meatballs?
I love meatballs. I've always loved meatballs. So I'm always looking for the perfect meatball.
You know what it is? You mentioned with Karen early on. What was the term you used? Your fear of what was the
imposter syndrome?
Imposter syndrome. There you go. Let's just say that even with the success I had, that I had my own version of imposter syndrome, which was that I was producing product that if I had to give, going to the general public, to supermarkets, you're further removed than I'm having to give it to my family or to you personally, and then have to wait for a critique on that. So it is harder, believe it or not. I don't think I gave food to any of my family over these years because I didn't want to have to deal with potential critique.
And it was even harder to give it to an Italian.
Yeah, that's it.
About it. So that did not fly ever.
Oh, that's such a riot. All right. Well, let's kind of start winding down, and I want to talk about your big vision for the future. What is that?
So I guess since it's my company, I'm just kidding, Matt.
Go ahead.
I guess the vision, I want Matt. So let me just say that my vision, it is hard because Matt is in a support role, but I do want us to share the vision together. And that means a lot to me. I don't want to only be the one driving the seat. He has to buy in and be on board as well.
Sure.
So we've had some struggles at times coming to terms with what is that vision. And we do talk about it a lot because I stay a lot busier than most people, I think. And my energy level is always a 10. My vision is to not really dial down my energy. I feel like I still have a good run left, and I would love to niche further into the coastal second market home arena and position K+CO Living as a modern coastal lifestyle brand. I'm looking for opportunities to develop licenses and product I would love, I mean, these are just bucket list dream ideas, but we have to dream. All of us have to dream, right?
Sure.
I'd like to write a book. I'm really growing into or happy to mentor again another generation. This has nothing to do with the brand, but in terms of a dream to mentor younger designers coming in.
Oh, and I know what you want from me because I think I've heard it a million times.
Oh, I want to.
She wants no. She wants me to start getting into the other part of where I can add value, which I haven't had a chance yet, and that is the new business development. So
Yeah.
you know me by now, Gail. I can certainly talk with people, and I love that communication. That's another skill set I hopefully bring to this business. And for 5 months, I've been learning, like Karen said, I've been in the weeds and I've been learning the lingo and the talk. But I've been nervous to try and go out there and push because I really haven't felt enough confidence in being able to sell it. I had an aha moment a few weeks ago, and I'll be as brief as I can because Karen's also keeps nudging me to keep my answers brief here.
Yes.
But that's okay. You can do that. But I know that for years, I always would see Karen's work and I would say to myself, she loves blue. She loves the color blue. She loves introducing blue into her homes and as part of her signature style, which is this coastal vibe. There's a lot of blue. And I would say to myself, why isn't she throwing out other colors? Why doesn't she make something red or purple or green or orange? And it hit me. I said, you know what? If you're looking at a car, let's talk about like a luxury car, a Ferrari. Okay. And I'm not using Ferrari as an example just because it's luxury and expensive. And I'm not saying Karen is expensive to work with, but I'm saying that if you think about Ferrari, and this will be the first time I'm going to ask you live, Gail, what color is Ferrari?
It's
in
red.
Your mind?
It's
You
red.
got it. It is red. Okay. Do they make other colors? You know what? They do. You can get a yellow. You can get a silver now, apparently. But 99% of the time, if you want a Ferrari, you're going to get red. And why? Because that is their signature style. That's what makes the Ferrari. So in Karen's world, she is a Ferrari. She is
A blue.
a blue Ferrari.
Yes, she
And
is.
she knows how to work that color, and that color is timeless. So I love the fact now that I have a story, people might laugh at it, but it's a story, which is she knows how to work with a color and make that splash anywhere she's working, whether it's coastal living, whether it's a little bit more urban, she's going to make the colors work in your home. And you're not going to get a Toyota, I hate to put them down, but you're not going to get a car that comes in multiple colors. You're going to work with something that you're going to be proud to say, I have Karen and I have K+CO in my home. Look at this. You can tell just by looking, this is K+CO lifestyle living right here. And that's what Karen's talking about, which is the future of building a brand where we may have a line of K+CO living. That's it. People are going to know, oh yeah, K+CO living.
But it took a really long time for me to wrap my photography around that, to build that, to own it, to sink into it, and and even to buy into it, because having a signature style does also cut out a lot of business. So it's a strategic decision as to whether or not you want to go down that road. And I think I'm finally ready. Probably because I'm in mid-late career versus, coming at it and like very early on and having it versus it's developed.
Right.
But look, I have been now introduced to at least 40 to 50 vendors. I actually like to call them business partners that we're working with in bringing in materials from them that they have crafted. And you're not going to go to, I'm not going to mention any names of manufacturers, but you're not going to go to a certain manufacturer without knowing exactly what style you're going to get from them. And that's why you're going to them. You expect a certain style, and they have chosen to be that style, and they're not going to change because that's what they're known for. So it's the same thing. Karen has finally established herself with that style, and that is what she should focus on, like she said, and move that forward to the next level.
We want to do two takeaways. I'm going to give each of you one and just share a takeaway that you would like to share with the audience. And I'll start with you, Karen.
So I think my takeaway the goal of this interview really was how do couples or partners work together. So my takeaway is 50-50 does not work, but 60-40 does. And I had a partnership before Matt for very, very small business, 50-50, and we went head to head. So my big takeaway is even if it's 51-49, doesn't matter, but somebody does need to make the final decision.
I love that. And Matt, how about you?
Were those three things, or am I supposed to?
That was one point.
I'm in agreement with her, but I think if I didn't say it earlier or say it enough, I think that for people looking to get into business together, couples, people who are together, I don't want it to come off negatively, but know your place, know where your strength lies, and work within that construct. So to Karen's point, she put percentages on it. To me, it's not about percentages. It's just about knowing if we're talking about operational information here in the company, that's where I can help. Let me help you. If it's something that's style related and styling the home and building the home, which I have very little, if no experience in, that's where Karen's going to shine. I'm not going to step over into her area and try and tell her how to run it. And I'm hoping that she recognizes that operationally, I have so much to contribute, and that together, if we stay focused on our talents, you build your business a lot stronger.
And that means relinquishing control. So, and that was, if you have the right person to relinquish the control to, it's very possible and a benefit.
And you have to have, like you said, and we've talked about it a couple of times, those value cards. I think all couples looking to get into business together, take a deck of those cards or print out the spreadsheets, do your own, and then put them in front of each other and make sure they align. Because if you're not going to align on your values for core business and personal values, you may find it challenging.
Yeah.
You may find it challenging to do it together. And that's critical. You need to be aligned in your values.
Well, that is a perfect ending. Thank you so much. Thank you both for being on the podcast and for being a part of the community and helping and giving back. This is an opportunity to do that. So thank you for that.
Thank you so much, Gail. And thank you for your help over the years.
My pleasure. Talk to you soon.
Okay.
Bye.
Thanks, Karen and Matt, for joining Gail on the podcast. We hope you gained some insight about business partnerships over the course of the last 2 episodes. Share your thoughts on our social media posts. Our 2024 Interior Design Industry Survey is available to take now. Lend your voice to the industry and secure your free copy when the results are available. To take the survey, visit theprocollective.com/takethesurvey. To learn more about Pro Collective and what we do for the interior design industry, you can visit theprocollective.com and take a look at our programs and resources.